Hey guys, what's up? Z here, and I have the Vernee Thor E. It's cheap, about 110 bucks, and it also has a big battery and old specs, but not horrible for the price. I think Vernee was going for a big battery phone and stumbled onto some pretty okay specs, but let's see if the user experience holds up. So first, the build. It's metal, it's pretty solid, but it's big for a 5-inch device. There are some significant bezels around the screen, and the phone is thick because of that huge battery inside. The back of the phone kind of resembles a Nexus 6P with a glass top sticking out, and sadly it still uses a micro USB connector. This display here is just fine. It's 720p on a 5-inch display and the colors are okay. They do the job but not great. There are downsides to the display. First, the max brightness isn't bright at all, so it's hard to see in direct strong sunlight, and second, the touch sensitivity, which is not as sensitive as an iPhone. So moving on to the audio, the quality here is surprisingly okay. I was not expecting that, but the audio volume is really soft, so it's difficult to hear even if there's a normal conversation taking place nearby. Here's some sample audio for you to listen to.
Goatee, 6'3", 290 pounds.
Hey, this is a tight 240. Jay, the doctor's made.
So battery life here is not as good as the battery size would suggest, but it's still better than what you find on top-end flagships, and that is because the CPU is older and more power hungry, which results in shorter battery life. I could get around 7 hours of screen on time. This was heavy use, gaming, web surfing, and YouTube, and some other miscellaneous things as well. So one more thing is that Vernee was talking at length about their new e-ink mode, which is basically a power saving mode that reduces brightness, disables a whole bunch of stuff, and limits what apps you can use. It's pretty useless to be honest, because it pretty much cripples your phone completely, but the one upside is that the battery does drop super low in that mode. Moving on to the software, the Vernee Thor E is surprisingly a tiny bit slower than the old Vernee Thor, even though they both have the same processor and same RAM. The phone hesitates a little bit when launching apps, especially heavy ones, and you can multitask because there are 3 gigs of RAM. This phone can still game well because it only has a 720p display, so intense games still run properly. And so the biggest surprise was how fast the fingerprint sensor was. It's one of the fastest sensors I've used, including top-end flagships like the Mi 6 and the S7, S8. Accuracy is good and speed is obviously fast, so no complaints here. The connectivity here is substandard mostly. I got 3G most places instead of 4G. 3G speeds are pretty slow. Wi-Fi speeds are fine. I downloaded 1 gig in about 10 minutes. GPS though is not fast and inconsistent, it jumps around a little bit. So the camera. I am incredibly surprised and not in a good way. If you remember my old Vernee Thor review, I said color in that phone was inconsistent but detail was fine. Well, here both the color and the detail are inconsistent. As you can see, some photos look fine and some do not. This phone also has trouble focusing, so I do get a lot of blurry shots as well. HDR processing is bad also. It doesn't combine the photos properly, leaving behind halos or whatever the right name is. You know what I'm talking about if you look at the pics. Low light is obviously bad. The front-facing camera is also bad, and sadly the video quality is bad as well. So to be honest, I had very high hopes for the Vernee Thor E because of how much I like the original Vernee Thor. However, apart from the battery life, this new Thor E is worse in every way compared to the old Vernee Thor. And if you're looking for a big battery phone around this price, you might as well go for something else like the Blackview P2 Lite, or just go get the old Vernee Thor. Both these phones should be around the same price. I think the Blackview might be a little bit more expensive. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Likes and subs are appreciated, and I'll see you guys in the next one.